So we are
sitting
in front of Sean's computer.
In front of my computer.
Looking at Nocturne in black and gold.
It was painted in 1875 by James Abbott McNeill Whistler, an American-born artist who spent much of his time in Europe. Most of his work was done in London, although he was well acquainted with many of the French Impressionists. His early work, mostly consisting of portraits, would be considered realism, but his later work shifts to more avant-garde Impressionism.
This work, which includes the piece in front of us, is often considered a precursor to abstract expressionism. Whistler was friendly with artists such as Courbet, who obviously inspired his early work, as well as Monet and Baudelaire. His work is a mixture of their common interests as well as some of his own.
The most apparent of which is his interest in musical harmony and its relation to the visual arts. Many of his pieces are named after arrangements of music, such as symphonies or harmonies, and as in this piece, Nocturne in black and gold.
Whistler went to London to live with his sister and her husband in 1848, but shortly after he moved to Europe permanently in 1855. He lived in Paris, but moved back to London after his piece At the Piano was rejected from the Salon of 1859.
He still visited Paris occasionally, but frequented other cities, Amsterdam being one of his favorites. He greatly admired many Dutch artists like Jan Steen, Rembrandt, and Ruysdael.
Whistler was also known for his flamboyant personality and his wit, but his art was seen as contradictory to that.
His art actually fell out of favor with the public as he became more well known for that personality and wit. This piece caused some controversy upon its arrival. The art critic John Ruskin claimed that the piece was like flinging a pot of paint into the public's face.
Yes, immediately after Whistler brought Ruskin into court on charges of libel. Although he won, he soon after became bankrupt, losing his house.
After that, he moved to Venice, only staying for 1 year before he returned to England.
I think it's interesting to note that this piece is landscape as opposed to many of his other pieces that are portraits, and I think he chose the landscape in this piece in particular because with these pieces, the effect he's trying to create of art for its emotional content and the moods it creates, and not necessarily what's being depicted in the painting and the associations you make with that, as in realism, which at this point I really don't think he was really associating himself with that group of artists at the time. I guess the most important thing I have to say about this piece is that it's not necessarily important, I think, for me to really point out specific things in the piece and tell you exactly what they are and how you react to them. Genuinely, because the artist, the intent for this piece is not necessarily that, and it's being that it is art for art's sake. The most important thing to do really with this piece is just honestly look at it and decide how you feel about it, and be open, but just decide how you feel about it and decide whether you appreciate it for what it is or not.